Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good to see you this Sunday morning. Nice to have some fresh new faces, bright new faces. Some old faces, good to see again. Some people have been traveling, coming back. It's good to see. Oh, not that kind of old. Familiar face that's been gone for a while because they were traveling. So, we're continuing in this series on love. Love is, exploring the different characteristics of love, because love's probably the most important thing in our lives, right? For life of fulfillment. And so we want to be able to cultivate the quality of love through our daily practice. So, here's Father Moon. He emphasized, the purpose of all religions is to reach the world of true love. All beings in the universe want to be in harmony with love and to live in the midst of love. We are born for the sake of love, we live for the sake of love, and finally, we die for the sake of love. So, as Unificationists, we talk often about our purpose in life and the purposes. And the three great purposes, they all focus around love. So it's quiz time, right? So, the first great purpose, the first great mission that we have in our life, what is it? It's to become what? A person of... Oh, come on. What kind of person? A person of true love. Very good. Okay, and on that foundation, the second great person is to build a family of true love. Yeah, excellent. You're getting it. I'm a little bit concerned here. Okay, and the third great purpose in our life is to have a dominion of true love. Very good. That's the magic word is true love. And all these three great purposes, if we think about it, the first purpose of individual perfection, that's our love for God, our connection to God. The second great purpose is our love for people, starting with our family, for all people. And the third is our love for things in creation. So let's love God, let's love people, and let's love creation. Okay? Okay, we're all done. That's the bottom line of all of it. Now, let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. How do we actually do it, and what does it actually mean to love? Here's from St. Paul. This is from 1 Corinthians. Boy, let me get a drink here. Here's a challenging laundry list of qualities of love, right, that we should strive for. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. So, for the last number of weeks, we've been covering different topics. We explored the qualities of humility as it relates to loving people, and perseverance, even loving our enemy, the challenges of continuing to love when it's hard to love. Learning how to love, and then on Day of All Things, we talked about how we should love creation, things in creation. And on Father's Day, we talked about parents' love, fathers' love, but parents' love, and all those challenges. So this week, we're going to focus on the quality of trust and hope. You remember at the very end of that, true love always trusts, and true love always hopes. So, while I was reading this, I read an interesting story actually about, it goes back to the time of the Crusades. And there was a knight, and he was getting prepared to go for the crusade, and he'd taken care of all of his affairs and making sure everything was taken care of. And one of the last things he did was he had a key, and he gave the key to one of his squires who he was leaving behind, who was going to stay there. He said, "So this is the key to the chastity lock on my wife. So, since I don't know how long I'll be gone, if I'm gone more than 10 years, please use this key and unlock the chastity lock for my wife. Because, if I'm gone for 10 years, we want her to go ahead and move on with her life or whatever." So he gets ready to prepare, and he's heading out on his horse and gets just a little ways down the road, and he sees his squire running like crazy after him. He's just like, He finally gets up to him. He says, Master, it's the wrong key. So sometimes we need to think about trust, right? Maybe he should have had a little bit more concern about trusting that squire, right? Before he gives the key to his wife's chastity belt. But in any event, let's look at the definition of trust. Trust, from the online dictionaries, there's lots of definitions, but one I'm going to focus on is to have confidence in, to rely or depend on, to believe, to have faith, to hope. And for hope, here's some of the definitions. Hope is to look forward with confidence that something desired may happen. And also it says to believe, have faith, and trust. So actually this believing, having faith, trusting, and hope, they're all kind of closely connected and closely related. So when we talk about love, why do we want to talk about love that trusts and love that hopes? And what's the value of trusting people? What's the value of having hope? I mean, in this world, there's lots of reasons, lots of justifications to not trust people. Lots of encouragement not to, it's dangerous out there. Don't trust people. So, why should we trust? What's the value in it? Actually, there's a significant amount of scientific research that supports the value of trust, even benefit for ourselves and benefit for society. So the number one point was that trust and having a confident or positive expectation of others nurtures and empowers relationships. If you think about it, who do you want to hang around with? Someone that trusts you, someone that has confidence in you. That brings joy in the relationship, right? But if the person if you treat them as untrustworthy, I don't trust you with this, often it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't trust people, they become untrustworthy. If we don't have positive hope or expectation for people, they're probably not going to do well. Oh, I knew you were going to fail anyway, right? This is not trusting and not hoping in people. So, trusting, actually, it creates a powerful bond between people. If you think about your relationships, the relationships that are the deepest are the people with whom you feel a trusting relationship. You feel that bond of trust. And so there's and the second one is this conversation about stress. Now, if you think about not trusting people, is your life going to be more stressful if you trust people or distrust people? If I'm always distrusting people, I'm always on edge, right? I'm always worrying. Did that guy give me the right change? Did that waitress spit in my soup? What's going on here? I'm always paranoid, right? Somebody is doing something. I can't trust anybody around me, right? What is that a good feeling? No. No, the truth is, somebody spit in my soup. As long as I don't know about it, I don't care. Doesn't bother me. Just a little extra protein. No problem. What's the problem is that I worry and I get upset and I get so freaked out. If I'm distrusting people, I'm constantly worrying. I'm constantly fearful. I'm feeling angst. I'm angry about things. I'm easily upset. But if I trust, so maybe something get put over on me. Didn't bother me. Didn't have effect. It decreases stress a lot if we come to recognize that and open up our hearts to being able to trust and love with trust. And then the third thing, which is interesting, is it increases joy. Remember, the three great purposes: love God, love people, love things in creation. Well, why? Why do we want to love? Why did God create us? What was the purpose? It was for joy. Thank you. Boy, I'm a little bit nervous here. What's the purpose of life? Joy. Right. Why did God create us? To experience joy. What do you want to experience? Joy. So, are you feeling it? Joy. I hope so. So, if we're trusting of people, in our relationships, our bonding, our connection with people, there's much more opportunity for us to experience and feel joy. So if we look at things pessimistically, that things, all it's doing is taking away our happiness. It's just taking away our joy. And actually, there's a lot of research, as I mentioned before. I want to just read one article that supports the value of trusting for individuals, but also for society. Actually, this comes from it's a study. It's published online with the Public Library of Science, and it's an interesting study. It's called "Generalized Trust and Intelligence in the United States," and it summarizes some other studies. But generalized trust, what that means is trusting people other than, say, your family. Trusting other people in your environment, your workers or your neighbors or people like that. That's what they call when they speak about generalized trust. So it reads, generalized trust has been linked to a variety of positive outcomes at the individual level, such as entrepreneurship. Did you know that? Entrepreneurs are more trusting. Volunteering, self-rated health and happiness. And when people evaluate their own health and happiness, they say they're much higher if they're people who trust others. Generalized trust is a valuable social resource, not only for the individual, but for the wider society as well. And it continues, countries whose citizens place greater trust in one another have more efficient public institutions and experience higher rates of economic growth. Now that's something that's tangible, something that they can actually measure in terms of economic output, statistics and numbers. So if you think it's good for a country that people trust, how about for organizations? How about for a business? How about for a church community, right? How about for a family? The more trust there is, the more chance we have to prosper, to grow, to experience joy and fulfillment and happiness and decreased stress levels. Here's Father Moon's words. He says, everyone wants to be recognized and trusted. Don't we? Don't we all want to feel that? Don't we all want to be in a relationship that we feel trust and trusted by the other? Elsewhere he says, you should pray for the success of each person you meet. This is that positive hope, hoping love. You should share the happiness of others. Your heart should be full of hope and gratitude to Heavenly Father. Your mind should behold the glory of His light, which gives rise to a heart of peace. You should live each day with a heart that can bring people together. When we love, when we express loving trust and loving hope to others, we're conveying God's love to the people around us. This is God's hope for us, God's desire for us and plan. So, when I use the expression, love always trusts and love always hopes, immediately there's the cynical side that says, now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's some times when I shouldn't trust, right? Well, there is. So let me clarify this. When it says love always trusts, I'm not talking about the first case is foolish, blind trust, right? When we trust someone, we trust them on a foundation of knowledge that they have the skill and ability to accomplish a task, right? This is where we trust. We trust that they will fulfill it. If you think about it, even as a parent, I prepare my child before I trust them with more responsibility, right? I was just thinking about, we have a tree in our backyard we need to cut down. So I got a chainsaw, right? So much fun, right? Big old chainsaw, And so how about, my 10-year-old daughter, when she was younger, I say, hey, try out this new chainsaw. I trust you. Here, go play in the backyard. Now is that trust? No, moms, is that trust? Moms, you happy? Go play with that chainsaw in the backyard, right? Or how about, your 12-year-old? Oh, can you back out the car for me? Here's the keys. Go back out the car. No, right? We trust on a foundation because we want them to succeed. Genuine, loving trust means I want them to succeed. Therefore, I'm not going to give them a task that I know that they can't do, that I know that they haven't been prepared for. That's foolish. That's blind trust. In fact, that's even kind of sabotaging the other person. That's not loving trust. It's like, oh, I don't care kind of trust. No, we're not talking about that kind of trust. Okay, so let's make that distinction. Now then, there's the other side is about hope. When we talk about hope, we're not talking about just wishful thinking. When we're talking about hope, we're talking about something that's very concrete and solid within myself, a vision, a goal, something that I'm connected to and pointing to. Not just dreaming. I'm just dreaming of things. I hope I get an A on the test, right? Well, why hope for that? Why don't you just work hard? You know, if you can hope for anything, hope that you have a clear mind so you remember the stuff you studied, right? But don't think that magically, oh, because I prayed and because I hoped that I got an A on the test, right? No, it doesn't work like that. What hope is having a positive expectation for good that's coming. There's a vision. Now, the amazing thing is God has a hope for each one of us. God has a clear hope for humanity, that we become people who know God's love, who love each other, who love creation, right? God has a clear goal and hope and desire for each one of us. It's not just wishy, airy-fairy. It's very clear and concrete. So we need to have a clear goal of what we're hoping for, a positive outcome that we're not just dreaming or wishing for, but that we're concretely. So when we say love always trusts and love always hopes, we're talking specifically about this kind of investment. So, nice to talk about. Let's all go out, let's love with trust and love with hope, right? Well, I don't know about you, but sometimes that's hard. Especially if you think about this cynical world that we're living in. You know, it can be tough. It can be tough to be trusting. It can be tough to have hope when, boy, I got lots of reasons not to be hopeful. Lots of reasons to be discouraged. So each one of us, we have to develop our own strategies, our own techniques and ideas for how do I keep myself in a trusting heart and in a hopeful attitude. So each one of us is a little bit different. Now, I'm going to offer a couple of ideas and tips that hopefully will be helpful for you. But the challenge is we have to take responsibility ourselves to cultivate this kind of love, this quality in our love. So, where do we start? Actually, with almost all of our good habits of love, it all begins with God. The beginning point is let's see things from the highest perspective, from God's point of view. This is why we emphasize and spend so much time, let's study, spend time study. Every day, let's do Hunduke and study. Hunduke means reading and gathering and studying. So we gather and study in the morning time, to read scriptures, to pray. Our Saturday mornings, and I encourage you to come and join us on Saturday mornings for our Divine Principle. We had a great time yesterday. Had some folks from the Sufi community joined us too. Really interesting to have a deep discussion about some, how God works in our lives and understanding, seeing things from God's perspective. It's something that we cultivate through our own actions in our study. So always seeking to see things from God's point of view. The truth is God is the greatest optimist. It's kind of shocking how optimistic God is. The hope that God has when you think about how horrible humankind, how many horrible things we've done. And yet God never gives up on us. God always has a vision for us and is always hoping and encouraging us. To the degree that we can gain that perspective, to the degree that we can understand God's desperate desire for us to succeed. God trusts us. God invests in us. God has great hopes for each one of us in our own unique way to find a life filled with joy and true love. So the first place we start is seeking God's perspective, God's understanding, an understanding of the bigger picture. Here's some words from Father Moon. He says, this is talking about in the Garden of Eden. Originally, Adam and Eve should have been people who were content to be in God's embrace and grateful for everything, communicating with God in daily life and overflowing with God's hope. This is God's design for us. This is what God longs to see in each one of our lives, that we're overflowing with God's love and God's hope. He continues, you have come as the substance of Heavenly Father's hope. Circumstances and heart. The heart that God has carried for 6,000 years. Hence, you have to make His hope, God's hope, your hope. His circumstances, your circumstances. His heart, your heart. So, seeking God's perspective, gaining God's heart, God's thought on the challenges, makes it much easier to trust that person, to extend hope and love towards that other person. So, first step, let's start with God, right? To become people of love, change our perspective and our understanding, invest in understanding God's point of view. So secondly, and this is a bit more challenging, is taking ownership. So what do I mean by that? If you think about when we talk about loving other people and especially trusting people, it's so easy to think, oh, it's not my responsibility. I'm just a victim in this situation. It's not my fault. I trusted. It's their fault. They did it. They messed up. We have the power. God has given us the authority to claim responsibility. Even though we didn't do it. Even though we could be justified and say, no, it's not my fault. But by us claiming responsibility, taking genuine ownership, we gain power. We gain power over that circumstance and that situation. If we're putting out positive expectations of others, we're taking ownership. If we're investing in other people and we trust them and we invest in them. We invest in hope. We invest in optimism. What we're doing is we're taking responsibility. I believe in you. I have confidence in you. And I'm putting my energy behind you. This is ownership. Versus, oh, yeah, you do it. And I'll see if you fail or succeed. I don't really care. No, that's not loving trust. That's not loving with trust. It's where we invest deeply. And we face this a lot in even in our church community. We've had a lot of leaders done some bad stuff, right? Made some mistakes and done evil things. So, do we take ownership of that? Or do we just say, oh no, it's the leader. That leader did it. It's that leader's fault. The truth is, no matter what our circumstance or situation, we need to take ownership and responsibility. Father Moon emphasized over and over, we need to listen to our conscience. If a leader ever asks us to break our conscience or go against our conscience, then we should be listening to our conscience. We need to be owners and responsible, no matter the mess. Father Moon's seen it many times. People going off and taking, the church is split all over the place. But how about me? If I take ownership, if I take responsibility for my spiritual life, then I become the creator, the one that has the power. I'm not the victim. So when we trust, we have to trust, but without betraying our conscience, without betraying what we know God is guiding us to do. And we invest. We invest for the purpose of seeing success. Here's Father Moon talking on this. He says, yet even while we are pursued and hounded, we are growing. We are not people of despair, okay? We are not people of despair. Let me hear you say that. We are not people of despair. We are people of hope. We are people of hope, right? We are people united in one love that cannot be severed by anything in this world. Therefore, no one can conquer us. Only love can bring complete victory. As we take ownership, as we be responsible, we become the creators of the heavenly kingdom. We become the ones that God can work through. So, as we seek God's perspective, as we seek to love with trust and love with hope, when we take ownership and responsibility, we have power to do that. So, In addition to that, though, we have to deal with the reality that trust gets betrayed a lot in this world. There's a lot of betrayal. When trust is betrayed, what do we do then? So, we believe in the principle of restoration. Trust is going to be betrayed. We don't hold a grudge when someone betrays our trust. Now, forgiveness, this is an important concept, and we've talked about this before. Forgiveness does not mean the same thing as trusting. When someone betrays my trust, I'm willing to forgive them. And what does that mean? That means I'm not going to hold a grudge. I'm not going to get revenge. I'm not going to seek to attack them or to punish them. But that doesn't mean I'm going to trust them, because that's foolish trust. They've broken that foundation. This is why in the principle, when we talk about God's providence of restoration, we talk a lot about making a foundation of faithfulness, showing that we can be trusted. So, if we truly believe in restoration and God's providence to restore all of us and all of humanity, then in our relationships with people, we need to believe in restoration of relationships. So when someone betrays our trust, and we say, "Oh, I forgive you," we don't put up a wall that says, "And you're never going to fix it. I'm never going to trust you again." No, I'm willing to trust, but we'll start with baby steps. We offer condition. We offer opportunities. We open up our heart enough to give them an opportunity to succeed, an opportunity to rebuild that foundation of trust. This is loving with trust and with hope. Because even though I know that I can't trust that person, they betrayed the trust, I still have the hope that this person is a trustworthy person. I believe in that hope. And therefore, I'm not going to give them a task that I know they're going to fail at. I ask them, I give them an opportunity to fulfill a task that they can fulfill, and to work the way back to build, to restore trust. It's a very challenging thing. We talk a lot of times about, restoration and God's providence and, this, that. But then when it comes down to my heart relationship with someone who's betrayed my trust, it's hard. It's really hard. We have to believe in restoration. We have to believe in healing and the power of salvation. Not just at the cosmic level, but also in our interpersonal relationships with people. But we need to develop a pathway. Make a way for people to restore trust. If we keep the bar way up here too high, then, I know they'll never make that again. That's not loving with trust and hope. That's saying, I've had it with you. I'm not going to even give you a chance. So I give a level here, an opportunity to show that I can trust you in the small things, and then we can build up. So, last point, and actually this was more fun. When I was reading and doing research on this, I found up with a lot of words from Father Moon about nature as our teacher. And when we're discouraged and not feeling a whole lot of hope, nature is a great place to find hope. Here's some quotes from Father Moon. He says, "Gazing at flowers," right? Gazing at flowers, especially spring and summertime, right? And butterflies and all created things in nature gives us hope. Being out in nature can give us hope. Weekend after next, what are we doing? We're going camping, right? We won't have service here. We'll be up in the hills, Lake Oroville, right? We can get out in nature and get a good dose of hope, right? A good dose of encouragement and look at the beauty of nature and creation. Sometimes, when we're around people and there's this, that, and there's challenges and difficulties, we just need to get outside and feel God's beautiful love song that He gave us in creation. Here's other words from Father Moon. He says, "Even insects lead their lives with original faith and trust. When we think that all things created in absolute faith have that kind of value, it's shameful that we human beings fell and could not find faith and trust." God He created the natural world fit for a prince of dreams and hope, who would inherit this infinitely colorful and harmonious garden, this world of love. Hence, we learn from all things in creation. So, we talk a lot about, okay, let's be people who are loving people. Let's people who love with trust and hope and optimism towards the other. To do that, we seek God's perspective. We take responsibility and ownership. We believe in the process of restoration. And we soak up and nourish that hope, fill ourselves up with that hope and that love by spending time in God's creation and receiving the precious gift of love and that God is sharing with us through the beautiful things of nature and creation. So I want to close with this quote from Father Moon. Father Moon says, "All of you are commissioned to speak on God's behalf in your own communities, to convey God's love and hope to your neighbors, and to help people work for God and humanity. Utilize your education in your endeavors to awaken the congregations in churches and temples, and mobilize them to build a world of peace and freedom with God at the center." Please join me in prayer. Father, Mother God, our loving Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for your precious love, for your investments in our lives. Heavenly Parent, we're so grateful that you continue to trust and invest in us even when so many times we've fallen down and we've betrayed your trust. And yet, even from the very beginning with Adam and Eve, you never stopped trusting and hoping, having the optimistic belief that we were capable as your true sons and daughters of fulfilling the potential that you gave to each one of us. Heavenly Parent, as we look and reflect on our lives today and this next week, we pray that you can speak to our hearts and minds, especially, Heavenly Parent, those areas where we're most challenged to love with trust and hope. Heavenly Parent, those areas where we tend to be more cynical and feeling hopeless, Heavenly Parent, please help us to open up our hearts, to refill our lives with your presence, with your perspective, with your heart, Heavenly Parent, so that, most importantly, we can be people who multiply joy in this world through our loving relationship with you, our loving relationship with people, and our loving relationship with the things of creation. Heavenly Parent, thank you so much, Father, Mother God, for your precious love. And as your sons and daughters, we determine to be the people that return joy to you and to bring healing to this world. Thank you, and as your sons and daughters, we offer up this prayer and ourselves again to you. Amen and adieu. Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's have hope and trust and share with your neighbors.